Good afternoon, everybody. On this hump day, it's Wednesday, November 19th, 2025. I've got all of your stories for your rush hour ride home. Today's episode, we're going to be focused on Candace Owens and the investigative journalism she and her audience are doing regarding Charlie Kirk's death. She's critical of the head security of Charlie Kirk, how they missed the chance to protect Charlie from a shooter on a roof. But was it a lone gunman? That's the big question. And the conspiracy that's being asked. I don't mean conspiracy in a bad way. A conspiracy theory is a belief that there's a greater a group of people that are behind something, that know something that we don't. Candace alleged that there were something like 60 plus instances where Egyptian military aircraft were in the same location as Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's widow. What does that mean? And sometimes when you're doing investigative work, you just don't know. You just continue to follow it. Well, then Candace discussed some of these license plates of rental cars that also were Egyptian military. We'll get into all of this. I'm also going to cover the Karen Read trial, as Karen Read is now taking matters into her own hands and suing the hell out of people. If you don't know that story, we'll catch you up. And then more on Epstein. And by the way, if you're wondering how this all ties together, well, Candace Owens is allowed to criticize the government's investigation. What we know, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys, is that Andrew Tate, who was being investigated by the Department of Justice for some pretty serious crimes, well, that investigation was interfered with by the Trump administration. So Epstein and Candace, it's all tied together. And it's really the lack of trust that the American public has in those that our taxpayer dollars goes to be doing this work. So I'm not going to judge anybody for associating with people that are operating in good faith. You might say, well, Candace is in it for the money. She's desecrating the memory of Charlie. You could make those claims. I don't buy it. And I say, if you don't like it, don't watch, right? So Tucker Carlson has been under the scope here by people that are trying to get him and Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens canceled. Now, he's already been canceled, right? He's been fired by Fox. It's like, what more do you want from these people? They no longer work in mainstream media. They're on their own doing their thing. If you don't like it, it's like a buffet. Just either go on to something else or go to a different restaurant, right? And I say that as someone who doesn't share that many beliefs that might align with Tucker. I think now that he's not working with Fox, he's probably getting closer to his true beliefs and all of that. But the bigger clip I wanted to share with you, and then we'll share clips from Candace's show. The bigger clip I wanted to share with you was British media interviewing Tucker, asking him if it's okay for him to be associated with Candace Owens. I really like his response. Have a listen.
Your very good friend Candace Owens has been putting out some pretty wacko stuff, I would say, on the death of Charlie. Can you see why people get upset by that and would like you perhaps to sort of distance yourself from that sort of thing?
So am I going to attack Candace Owens because you think
asking you to attack? I'm not asking you to attack her.
I'm not going to do that, Harry. The whole ritual of, this person said something I don't like. In order to be a good person, you must denounce this person. Obviously, I would die before I played along with that. And I would say broadly, not about Candace, whom I love, but about all people. Getting to the truth is the most important thing. If you're telling me that because the U.S. government or some law enforcement agency issues a statement that doesn't even make sense, that I'm required somehow morally to accept that and not ask any questions like, can you hear yourself?
And listen, I believe that Candace, I think she's on the wrong side of her traditional beliefs on marriage between a man and a woman. I say, do what the hell you want with your body. Who the hell cares? There's a lot of things that I could pick apart. But as an investigator, someone with a massive following, I've got no problem if Candace wants to flip over a bunch of stones and see if there's a conspiracy below. And what she's finding out, the connective tissue that's there, pretty damning. So here she is yesterday discussing her belief that the footage of Tyler Robinson, who's alleged to be the lone gunman of Charlie Kirk, might not even be from that day. Also, questions about eyewitnesses, and then a clip from Charlie Kirk's head of security and how they dropped the ball. Have a listen to this.
Something that I have always suspected that makes perfect sense to me, which would be the reason that UVU has denied every request, not just to release footage of the day of the assassination, but also to release footage of the days leading up to the assassination. Why? I think it's because the footage that we have seen, right, was recorded before September 10th. I always felt that in my gut. I always felt it was a distraction. The person in the staircase, walking across the street in 2 different outfits. I just felt that some of this footage was recorded in the days leading up, okay? And now that we know that those Egyptian planes came in 6 days before, 6 days before Charlie's assassination, it's possible that they could have staged some of that, which they eventually edited maybe a bit and released it to TMZ in that time frame.
And look, she might not be wrong. And if she is, it would be very easy to show the metadata behind, and, can metadata be altered? To an extent, but really, I mean, if the security footage wasn't from that day, you would think that the FBI would get down to it. Now, there has been eyewitness accounts that there have been people scoping out the roof. Listen, I have a family that works in heating and air conditioning. I've walked on many roofs in my day because that's normally on buildings where they put the condenser unit or whatever, all of the different units, right? So you'd be shocked how many roofs you can just walk onto. But that doesn't mean it wouldn't be odd if there was somebody walking on the roof where Tyler Robinson allegedly ended up, sniping down, Charlie Kirk.
What we do know factually, and we don't have to surmise, is that there were eyewitness accounts that you may have lost. Obviously, a lot of stuff came out immediately. But what got lost in the fold was that there were eyewitness accounts of people having seen someone on that roof in the week before the shooting. This got buried in the press. There were students and allegedly a professor who reported seeing someone on the roof a week earlier. And I think we should try to track down these students. Of course, CNN, which ran this article, which I can show you here, didn't include their names, but here is the article. You can see it was published the day after the assassination, and it reads, Utah Valley University student recalls seeing man walking on or near the Lozzie Center roof twice in 2 weeks.
Now, I can understand why Utah Valley University wouldn't want to release their security footage for everybody, because the confirmation bias, if you scope through footage, like I said about the Boston bomber, if you don't remember, after the bombing, everyone was looking for like a white dude with a backpack, and it turned out to be kind of close. It was, 2 brothers, and one, of course, died in a gunfight, and the other, I believe, is still behind bars facing the death penalty. I could be wrong. But the point is that, a lot of innocent people, like, it's dangerous out there if you get the wrong guy, because people think they're doing justice and it can lead to some bad things. So I can understand why they don't want this to be a public witch hunt. But at the same time, if Candace and anyone else wants to investigate what they see in plain sight, I have no problem with that. The Justice Department or I should say Utah, who's investigating this, maybe they do have a lot more information than they're sharing. You would think, though, that if Tyler Robinson was the patsy, you would think that it would be pretty wild if he comes out and says, I'm innocent, I had nothing to do with this. Now, he might come out and just admit to it and have a pretty convincing story, which makes all of this useless, but we'll have to see. So I'm going to share these text messages with you as they're read on the Sean Ryan Show, which is very fascinating. We'll get to that in a second. Here is the AI summation of what's going on. Candace Owens shares license plates of vehicles linked to Egyptians in the Charlie Kirk assassination. Conservative commentator Candace Owens posted the license plate numbers of 4 rental vehicles on Twitter, claiming they belong to Egyptians present during the September 10th assassination of Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. The post, viewed millions of times, drew doxing accusations from critics concerned about harassment risks, while supporters viewed it as investigative work based on public footage. Official investigations identified 22-year-old Utah resident Tyler Robinson as the lone domestic suspect with no evidence of foreign involvement, despite Owens' conspiracy allegations. All right, pretty safe and buttoned up there in the summary of it all. But what Candace shared, look, this isn't doxing. You know what I mean? This isn't, doxing is when you reveal someone's private location where they live or their phone number, things like that. This is, she claims that these are the license plates of the Egyptians that were there, separate from the tail number that they have of multiple flights who she believes ties to Erica Kirk. Why are they following her? Some people have commented, well, her father worked high up at Raytheon and they could be private security. Again, if there's a common reason that makes sense, I'm sure people will believe it, but there has been no commentary outside of Candace's research and the internet's research about this. So there's just multiple aspects of this investigation that's going on by Candace, that being the Egyptian plane/rental car connection, which we'll get to a little bit more in a minute, but then also the idea that Candace asks, is it an inside job? Were there people at Charlie Kirk Security that dropped the ball here? I'm going to share next what Candace has to say in reaction to Charlie's head of security putting the blame on the actual Utah Police Department. This coming after a quick word from our sponsor. I've learned that how you sleep is just as important as how long you sleep, and Leesa really delivers on the how. Have I ever looked so well rested? My Reserve Hybrid mattress makes me feel like I'm staying at a 5-star resort. From night one, you'll feel the difference. Premium materials that deliver serious comfort and full body support no matter how you sleep. Leesa mattresses are meticulously designed and assembled in the USA for exceptional quality. Plus, they back it all up with free shipping, easy returns, and a 120-night sleep trial. Leesa has been tested and awarded Best Hybrid Mattress by New York Times Wirecutter and is exclusively featured on West Elm as their go-to mattress partner. Go to Leesa.com for the Black Friday Cyber Monday sale, plus get an extra $50 off with promo code RUSHHOUR. Exclusive for my listeners. That's Leesa.com. Promo code RUSHHOUR for 30% off mattresses plus an extra $50 off. Support our show. Let them know we sent you after checkout. Leesa.com. Promo code RUSHHOUR. All right, here's Candace Owens reacting to Charlie Kirk's chief of security. He was interviewed by Sean Ryan. Again, a massive podcast. Sean Ryan's podcast is, up there with Joe Rogan. It's absolutely huge.
For one, Brian offers up that the lack of security on the rooftop can actually be attributed to the UVU police chief, Jeff Long. Here is what he had to say.
On Monday before, this correspondence went to Chief Long. Hello, Chief Long. We received this message today from the student group. There is a student roof access pretty close to where CK will be set up at the Utah Valley. The Sorensen Center has a couple of staircases that go up to walkways on the roofs. He comes back, and for edification, the Sorensen Center was the building in front of the Lucy Center. And so he comes back and he says, you want access to the roof. And came back and said, I was told students have access above us. If this is true, it would be nice to either have it controlled access or allow one of my guys to be there as well, if possible. He comes back, and his last correspondence was, I got you covered. What else am I to do? When a command level person from an accredited police department says, I've got this area. Jeez.
Please pick me. Okay. When you're like in school and you got to hold your hand up because you really want a teacher to see you. I have an answer for what you could have done. You could have followed up because it's your job and Charlie paid you millions of dollars not to pass the buck. No.
And by the way, she's not wrong. But this isn't the president of the United States of America. So how much bandwidth does the security have? If they say, all right, the police have the roof covered, we'll focus on X, Y, and Z. Look, I'm no expert in this. Didn't really get much pushback from Sean Ryan. I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things. Yeah, on any given day, if there's a disaster like this, someone dropped the ball somewhere. I don't believe and have no information that Charlie Kirk's security team is in on it. I know everyone's seen a bunch of footage zoomed in on guys with Ray-Ban glasses and who's on the phone right after. And again, it's all circumstantial, but at the same time, run with it. Keep looking, keep digging. Either you're wrong or you're at the centerpiece of one of the greatest conspiracies of our times. So she tweets this out, right? Shares all the license plate numbers. and then people have a field day with it. Again, this is 1,000% unvetted. I went through the comments to see if this is AI. The what you're about to see if you're watching on YouTube, the top video is absolutely AI, but it doesn't mean that there might not be some truth to this. Have a listen.
Single-handedly solving the Charlie Kirk assassination. Now, one of the license plates from one of the rental cars that was waiting for the Egyptian military plane at Salt Lake City Airport has been caught on Utah DOT camera on University Parkway, just 1.2 miles from the UVU campus, 25 minutes before the shots rang out. According to Project Constitution, the Arizona license plate CWN872 was not found on a white Camry, but instead was caught on camera on a black Tahoe. Which is interesting considering the Ring camera footage of Tyler Robinson walking through a neighborhood towards UVU shows him being followed by none other than a black Tahoe.
And again, black Tahoe, RAV4, Toyota, these are the most common cars that exist. Especially in Utah, I would think. These four-wheel drive vehicles, they're probably every other car. And are the Egyptian military renting out Toyotas and hiding in plain sight? I don't know. So she checks ChatGPT, again, take that with a grain of salt, and says that globally intelligence services like the CIA, Mossad, MI6, they use rental cars, short-term lease vehicles, because they can't track them to individual spies and whatnot, and they're untraceable. And then they rotate out the... I mean, look, I understand why this is the most interesting conspiracy out there. And it is a wild time to be alive, to be covering this and Epstein. And these trials will continue to cover. Again, and by the way, I'm not seeing any pushback over our coverage of this. There will be people smearing Candace saying, oh, you're making millions covering this, whatever. Well, if the people at Turning Point USA want to disown Candace, that's the collateral damage from her, pressing into the wound here. But again, I stand by my thoughts that, look, minimize collateral damage. You know what I mean? Try not to expose or dox innocent people. Do what you got to do. Flip over those rocks. So speaking of doing what you got to do, how about this story? You guys been following Karen Reed? Didn't cover this much, but I'm trying to get into it. She's suing cops and former friends, alleging that she was set up in police officer boyfriend's death. It was a crazy trial that initially, and again, I'm sure I'm going to get something wrong and people are going to jump all over me, but there was one trial that ended where they had to redo it. They had to redo the trial a second time. She's off the hook, and now she says, I got to come for people. The Boston woman acquitted of killing her police officer boyfriend this year is suing several of the witnesses in the high-profile trial. And by the way, please forgive me if I can't sum it up any better. This was, years long, and, you can only spend so much time covering it right now. But leave a comment and let me know if you guys would like me to cover this further. She filed suit Monday against 8 people who testified against her, including the lead investigator, his 2 former supervisors, and 5 people who were present at the 2022 party that ended with John O'Keefe's death. She was twice tried for murder in the death of O'Keefe. Her Boston cop boyfriend was accused of striking him with her SUV on the night of a snowstorm after a drunken party at the house, where his body was later found in a snowbank in the front yard. She was ultimately acquitted of the murder and manslaughter charges, was found guilty of operating a vehicle under the influence. She's suing Michael Proctor, lead investigator in the case, who was fired for misconduct, Boston Police Sergeant Yuri Buhanik, and Lieutenant Brian Tully, as well as Brian and Nicole Albert, whose house the party took place at, Jennifer and Matthew McCabe, and an ATF agent named Brian Higgins. All right, so we'll give updates as they come, but pretty wild story indeed. Coming up next, we have a Justice for Clayton update, and we're going to discuss the Epstein files and how the White House is providing cover for a man accused of sex trafficking. These stories after a quick word from our sponsor. The Rush Hour is sponsored by Masterclass. With Masterclass, you can learn from the best to become the best. What better gift this holiday season? I actually gifted Masterclass to a family member who was looking to add some levity to life. I gifted her Amy Poehler's class about applying the principles of improv to your life. With Masterclass, you get thousands of bite-sized lessons across 13 categories that can fit into even the busiest of schedules. With plans starting at $10 a month, billed annually, monthly, you get unlimited access to over 200 plus classes taught by the world's best business leaders, writers, chefs, and more. And there's no risk. Every new membership comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Masterclass always has great offers during the holidays, sometimes up to as much as 50% off. Head over to masterclass.com/rush-hour for the current offer. That's up to 50% off at masterclass.com/rush-hour, masterclass.com/rush-hour. This episode of the Rush Hour is sponsored by Veracity. Welcome to an all-natural way to slim down, get energized, and sharpen your focus. Veracity is revolutionizing health by tackling the root cause of so many issues, metabolism. With Veracity's drug-free, clinically proven, and doctor-formulated solutions, you can support your body's need to live your healthiest life. If your goal is weight loss, you need to try Metabolism Ignite, a natural, safe, plant-based aid that results in an 85% reduction in hunger and is clinically proven to lose on average 9 pounds in 90 days. I started Metabolism Ignite a couple weeks ago in just 2 capsules with breakfast. I feel energized and focused all day. Veracity is a unique blend of lemon, verbena, and hibiscus extracts, green coffee bean extract, and magnesium. Veracity doesn't just offer a quick fix for weight gain. The products actually help you maintain a healthier lifestyle. So make the switch to GLP-1s the natural way. Head to veracityselfcare.com during their Black Friday sale for up to 50% off your order. Once again, that's veracityselfcare.com for 50% off. We'll cover a little bit of the Justice for Clayton movement before we end on Epstein. You guys know we've been covering this case. Laura Owens faked pregnancies, multiple of them. I was sued for harassment. I'm now a star witness for the state of Arizona. Law and Crime interviewed me yesterday, which I think will be coming out today. We'll have to see if they chopped me up at all. But it was a pretty good conversation that I had there with Ann Jeanette. And did I pronounce that right? And here we have Laura Owens' attorney. We're finding out withdrew for ethical concerns. This posted by Justice for Clayton official on Instagram, where you can catch up on the entire story. Yeah, so he cited ethical because, you can't just pull out of a case. And you have to, excuse yourself for certain reasons. Won't be the first time that somebody has abandoned Laura Owens for ethical reasons. She's been through a litany of lawyers at this point. And they have the full document. She wanted to appear virtually to her hearing yesterday, but she says this. She has been the subject of repeated online posts made by supporters of the alleged victims in this case. That's how it works, honey. The posts and comments are generally very negative in nature and have caused Miss Owens and her family concern about their safety. And the fact is they're negative because she has committed fraud against multiple men. And they're using shame as a tool to let her pay the price. And I'll tell you this, the negative comments online would go down drastically if she just admitted what she did was wrong. She will serve far less jail time if she does that. Don't hold my breath on that one. So she says, due to the nature of the online postings, she wanted to get, a Zoom hearing, and they denied her for that. Listen, I'm the opposite. I work from home. I want to get out. I want to go in person. I don't order delivery. I pick it up. I say hi to all of my baristas at Starbucks. Hey, Dave, how are you? Good to see you. Your hair's looking great. Thank you so much. I tip them when they tell me my hair looks nice. Either way, she wants to appear by Zoom. I don't understand. She's the one who's, committed these felonies. So it was denied. And look at this. Speaking of law and crime, they've requested media access to the court hearing. So that'll be interesting if they decide to stream it. They, of course, have very good quality stuff. So, this court case is supposed to take place in January of 2026. Literally everybody I've spoken to says, no way in hell this is going to happen. It's just not going to happen at that date and time. But it hasn't been delayed yet. Maybe we'll know soon. The next hearing is December 2nd. All right, so let's cover some Epstein stuff. Why don't we? Here's Mike Johnson after he found out that the Senate quickly passed their bill, which again is for the full transparency of the Epstein files. Now, Donald Trump said he would sign it. Was Trump hoping that Senate would kick it back and that they would make some alterations to it? Who knows? But you can see the panic in Mike Johnson's eyes. Have a listen.
Leader Thune, you seeing the bill without adding amendments or changing it?
I am deeply disappointed in this outcome. I think
I'm deeply disappointed that the victims will get justice from a known pedophile. Okay, weird.
I'm told, I've been at the state dinner. I don't know. I was just told that Chuck Schumer rushed it to the floor and put it out there preemptively. It needed amendments. I just spoke to the president about that. We'll see what happens.
So do you think he may veto it? You say you spoke to the president?
I'm not saying that.
Is he supportive of it in its current form?
We both have concerns about it, so we'll see.
So we'll see. You never want to get a we'll see. You remember growing up, hey, Mom, can we go to the pool? We'll see. That's a no. Just tell me yes or no, Mom. I need to, plan my day. So Mike Johnson gives us all the we'll see what Trump does. And we will see. Who the hell knows? Here's David Pakman posting. Again, if you like a good progressive commentator, I think David Pakman does a great job here. He's reporting how the FBI is reportedly blacking out Trump's name from the Epstein files.
Now have reporting that the FBI is blacking out Trump's name from the Epstein files. As in, the FOIA team flagged it, applied the privacy exemption, scrubbed it before the releases even made it anywhere. Bloomberg has the sources. And when you put this next to Donald Trump's wild posting sprees on Truth Social and his disjointed and disoriented speeches yesterday, it starts to look a lot less like, wow, Trump is bravely demanding the truth. And it starts to look more like Trump has figured out a way to get government to bend over backwards to protect the guy who kept screaming that he's really the victim here.
Now, listen. This might be the case, but I still have faith that there'll be whistleblowers that do the right thing. There were something like 800 federal agents that were flagging where Trump was mentioned. Some people even believe he was okay with the government shutdown because it let him run more cover for redacting his name from these files. Ro Khanna, the representative who has spearheaded this transparency and really done an amazing job of putting political pressure on everybody to make this thing happen. He says, listen, they can try to redact or remove their names, but there's enough information that exists with the victims' lawyers that if Trump does try to pull that, they'll be able to catch him. So again, it could lead to a delay in getting the Epstein files out, but it could also show Trump on his heels rather than his knees, or maybe on both. And again, this is the brazen stuff we're talking about. The White House, and this is a report by ProPublica, the White House intervened on behalf of accused sex trafficker Andrew Tate during a federal investigation. Online influencer Andrew Tate, self-described misogynist, faced allegations of sex trafficking women in 3 countries when he and his brother left their home in Romania to visit the U.S. When the brothers arrived, they found themselves in the crosshairs of law enforcement once more, as Customs and Border Protection officially seized their electronic devices. This time, they had a powerful ally come to their aid, the White House. If the White House could just be a little bit more focused on lowering grocery prices, finding a healthcare system that's not going to bankrupt us, doing those types of things, not pulling favors for people that are accused of sex trafficking. Like, rather than do a favor, let the justice system play out. If the guy's innocent, he'll have his day in court, right? I just think this is so bizarre. And it really leads people to ask questions like, what side of this are you on? Are you on the side of protecting folks like Epstein and his cronies? Or are you on the side like most people are, which is, you know what? Sink the ship. Light it on fire. They'll get a fair trial. We still have the judicial system, but make it so that all of this is exposed. The public is demanding it. That's where they stand. So again, it's all about transparency here. If Candace Owens is chasing shadows and she has nothing, and there really is no conspiracy, well, then she'll come to that conclusion, or it won't be proven, right? I say go for it. Go check it all out. That's where I'm at. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. We'll be back in the morning. So much to talk about. I hope we did this justice covering it. Let me know what you guys think. We'll be back later. I'm Dave. This is The Rush.